Good morning. So good to be here. Excited to be host today. We're streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to Africa, and of course the entire world on the Good Morning and around the show. Again, we're having a great time together. And of course, guess what? It's just almost barely a week to Christmas Day, and we also know that it's already the end of a year, and we just believe that all things are getting set and people are gearing up, to have a new year, a new life, a new meaning. And yeah, so we wish everyone the best and we pray that all the plans and all the strategies and all the disposition and everything, will work out as planned for many people. And to crown it all up, I pray and I believe that most people will find, you know, find meaning, you know, and also get to do more, both collectively and individually. So today's show, we're going to be having an interesting conversation and on the show. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And on the Good Morning Education Show today, we will start the show with our usual segment of news headlines. And from the headlines, we'll try as much as possible, to also get to introduce some elements, as it were, you know, so we're able to deal with all that we can talk about today. Yeah. So I think the very first thing. Okay. Okay. Jade Henry, thank you for joining. If you just joined us for the first time, thank you for joining. And please let us know your location, where you're streaming from and connecting with us from. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. So without wasting much time, I would go straight into the conversation of the day, and topic is um, a new spheres eve, right? Um, you know, this season, one of the things that we get to, of course, experience is that, take for example, um, well, we talk about the Eve, like New Year's Eve, that's like just right before we believe that that's the same thing that also affects and also um, people get to contend with, you know. So a New Year's Eve, a New Year's Eve, a birthday Eve, an anniversary Eve. All these things are naturally what you would really expect, what you would really consider total outplay. Well, look at it from that angle. It's like a total outplay of how things actually turn out. And I feel that, this is a very good time for us to problem question. That we've been trying to do a lot of things, and over the past few months, you would have followed us, you would have, you would have experienced that we talk about so many things, and in these things that we've talked about, you see things about talking about advancing the education sector and putting things into perspective. A lot of things that we've said, people have personally implemented and they start seeing results. We are also excited that it's not just translating to place. And that is where should be the place of positioning, as we were, talking about this in the introductory statement, And let me welcome Faithful Falodun. Good morning. How are you today? Thank you for joining.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here again this morning. Good morning, world. Good morning to the Good Morning Education Show family.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I was just trying to, conclude on the introductory part of it. Our topic today is a new sphere's eve. A new sphere's eve. Just like you have a New Year's Eve or you have Christmas Eve. And Eve is most times considered as just the brink to a beginning, the time before a major thing. So I'd like to hear
Hello, is it me? I can't hear anything. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you. So it was internet. So
Okay.
I'd like to hear your thoughts. So we're talking about a new spheres eve, new education spheres eve. Yeah. What are these things? What should happen? What
For the education sector, now schools are closing down. If they haven't closed already by today, um, schools will be shut down. And then in retrospect, we're on the eve of a new beginning. We're on the eve of a new term starting and on the eve of a new year. And if we look at that, not just in calendar terms, not just in meteorological terms, and looking at it like, oh, okay, weather is changing, the calendar is changing, we're moving into a new, if we look at it like we're moving into a new sphere, then we would handle this period as one uh, as one as the eve of a new beginning, as the eve of us being able to do a lot of things right. This year or this term in education has been rife with a lot of issues. Hello?
Carry on, please. Carry on.
Okay. This time has been rife with a lot of issues. We've had issues of allegations, false allegations against teacher, against parents. We've had issues around bullying. We've had all sorts of issues. And for us to go into the new sphere, it's essential to see this period not just as that break on our normal academic calendar, not just as that great break on our yearly calendar, but also to ask ourselves, what are we going to do differently in the new sphere? What are we going to do differently? How are we going to make our processes better? How are we going to make our offerings better? What are we going to do to protect our children, our staff, our teachers, non-academic staff? What are we going to do to make them better for the new sphere that we are going into? So that is my interpretation or my introduction into this topic this morning.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I would say that help us out, to take it a step further, that in the new sphere, not just a change in the calendar here, um, let's break out those steps, you know, especially starting from the individual educator and professional, the individual, yeah. What are those steps? Can you kind of articulate those steps?
Sorry, this is breaking in and out, so I'm not hearing you in a continuous stretch.
So I mean, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Let's talk about the individual, the steps that they have to take.
Okay, as individual educators, as individuals or as individual educators, now I think we're throwing this open to just more than the education sphere. For individuals, for just any other person listening to this who is a friend of education or probably not even in this sector at all. I we talked about retreats. Was that yesterday or day before? I think it was day before. We talked about a retreat. This is going into the next sphere requires us taking stock and taking account of the previous sphere, so that, like I said earlier, we need to look at things we're going to do differently. If we don't, in the first instance, um, consider and take stock of what we've done before, then we would not know what we should be doing differently. We would not know what needs an upgrade or what needs a change or what we should even stop doing completely or what we should continue doing. So for the individual, this is a period to take stock. Ask yourself, how did I do in this sphere? How did I, what did I add to myself? What are those things that I need to take away from myself I was talking with someone recently and said, look, you can hardly help somebody who doesn't realize that they need help. You can hardly help them. But if as a person we are able to sit down and we can go through ourselves, we can tell ourselves the truth and say, look, I know that this year as a teacher I wasn't at my optimum. I know that I just cruised through this fear of for whatever reasons. I just cruised through. It wasn't, I could have been better. Then we can find the help that we need. Then we can ask, who is mentoring me? Do I really need a mentor in the first place? Why should I have a mentor? And then who would be that mentor? I can ask myself, what professional development do I need to partake in? What personal development do I need to do? And personal development is not only about courses. I will put doing courses and short programs and all of that under professional development. For personal development, I will look at things like, what are the soft skills that I have? What are the relational skills that I have? How is my problem solving skills? How is my, even how do I intentionally take time out to relax, to recalibrate? Do I take care of my health? What's my feeding habit like? What do I eat? When am I eating? So those are some of the things that I believe that for an individual and for those who are religious, you also want to take stock of your spiritual life. What was it like for me in this sphere? And realizing that, well, now we're discussing the new sphere on the towards the end of the year, but it's also essential for us to consider that sphere. It could be at any point in the year, but right now, well, it's at the end of the year. So what has been my relationship? What has been my spiritual life in the sphere I'm coming out of, and then going into the new? What do I want it to be like? What do I need to get there? How do I work towards it? These are some of the things that I believe that we should be working towards as individuals, as individual educators. What more collaboration do I need to do within my school space? Are there teachers? Can I have bodies within my school space? Can I have bodies outside of my school space? People that I know I can always call upon. We have the Good Morning Education family, where, or if I need certain things, there was a time I needed some recommendations, and my first port of call was people from the Good Morning Education show. So looking at those resources that you have around you, what do I need to just make the next fair a better one for me as an individual? And definitely, if all the individuals in an organization, if all the individuals in a school are thinking about this, are thinking about making themselves better, are thinking about what helps them to deliver more value as human beings, then definitely the institution gets better.
Thank you very much. And then to take it up further, um, I want us to also look at it that times of when you look at it from the perspective of steps to take. Now we move away from steps now to now get to understand that what are those realities that we see, you know, that that happens at the eve of a new sphere, at the eve of an education sphere, a new one. What are those things that we must be aware of? Not just steps that we should take, but what are those things that we must pay attention to?
I'm not very sure I get this question correctly, but I'll take a stab at it. What signifies the end of a sphere? Is that the question?
Sorry, I didn't hear you clearly. You said? Hello.
Hello. Yes, I didn't get your response. Okay, I think I'll just answer the question as I understand it. How do we know that we're at the end of a sphere? Yeah, normally, as much as we're saying that it's not just the end of a year, as much as we're saying that it's not just the end of a term, we're not just marking stuff off the calendar. It's also essential for us to know that spheres are defined by by different parameters. So we can say that in what we one of the ways we know that we are at the end of the sphere is because we have defined one sphere by certain parameters. We have said that this sphere is going to be for 13 weeks, or it's going to be for 12 weeks, or for 14 weeks. And so going through that, going through those parameters, we can see, or it's very clear that we are at the end of one sphere. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is some spheres have natural lifespan. So even if you don't define it by, oh, this is the number of weeks or this is the number of months it's going to be, once the process is completed, the sphere just shuts itself down. It just winds down, and for those of us in schools, it became apparent at a point that things were beginning to wind down. Children were beginning to be a lot more relaxed, or maybe they were getting tired. I'm not sure which it is, but they were beginning to, from the body language, you could tell that there's something in the air that all of these that these children can feel that this period is winding down. Amongst staff, there was a lot more of people were beginning to now relax, like, oh, we've done a good job. It's time to step it down a little and relax. So those were markers to the end of a sphere. So if it doesn't live out a natural lifespan, then it leaves out a defined lifespan, and then we know that, okay, we need to pause, we need to take a break, we need to go recalibrate, come back, and then start up a new cycle and hope for the best of productivity we can get in that new cycle. I hope I answered the question.
It felt like you were making a presentation to the Senate. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm not too sure I got
this is
the original question right.
very important, especially when we begin to, hello,
Okay, you just got back.
hello.
I can hear you now. You just
Yeah, I
got back.
think the network today
The network, the network needs to move into a new sphere.
has been very now, not bad is not the word, it's been crappy. I'd like to hear from you. What are your own prescriptions and predictions in the
Okay, what are my predictions and prescriptions for the new sphere? Definitely, my number one prescription would be that we increase our safety safety protocol in schools. And the safety protocol is two ways, both physical and mental. Physical in that we are in a new era of the COVID-19 uh, pandemic. So there's been a whole lot more. I was talking with someone a few days ago, and that particular day, she was aware of 5 people who had just tested positive that day alone. So I'm looking at in the news fair, my predictions will be let's be a lot more safety conscious. To a large extent, we relaxed. Before there were very strict rules around, oh, you're going into the school, your face mask has to be on, you have to wash your hands, you have to sanitize, all of that. And then gradually we just started relaxing, and the distancing was discarded and all of that. So I would say that we make that top priority. A healthy body is a healthy school. So we should place priority on that. The second safety protocol that I would say we place priority on is on the mental health of both children and teachers. These days, we don't only have teachers being bullish to students, or teachers being maltreating students, and so now we have students bullying teachers. And because of the kind of system that is being run, because the children understand that, oh, look, I can get away, in most instances, I can get away with anything. All I need to do is maybe just cry a little or something, and then they can get away. So they're subjecting their teachers also to some mental pressure. So we need to have a school system that takes care of both the students and the staff, that ensures that there is no people are happy to come into the space. People leave their homes in the morning, and they're not terrified of what they're going to meet later in the day, in school. So my predictions will be that essentially well-being, safety. Let's and I think that with the experiences of the past number of weeks within this our sphere, that many more school owners or management will sit up to ensure that this is achieved in the new sphere. Thank you and welcome this morning, Mr. Olushola Olumide.
Good morning, Follow Rotimi. Good morning. Good to be here once again. Hello.
Morning, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear
Let's
you.
hear your
Okay.
thoughts and predictions ahead of the news.
Yes,
It's an eve of a new.
Thank you. I will start with the prediction. Go to prescription, then return back to prediction. I'm not a prophet of doom. Yes, I'm not a prophet of doom, but except something changes, the future may be more calamitous, especially with regards to mental health, connecting emotionally with learners, managing our mental health as educators, as teachers, as administrators. If we don't want things, if we don't change, to stem the tide will be difficult, because I needed to say this. In recent time, what has been happening, that is just what has been recorded. My colleague, if not that she handled the matter somehow and felt, let me not get this thing out of hand, I tell you by now, you will have had another crisis erupting out of Oyo State, because the daughter, a senior, so beat that girl that marks were on her body, and that girl started stooling blood. Now, they have to suspend that student as we speak now. If she had escalated the matter or make noise about it, I'm telling you now, attention will have shifted away from Lagos to Oyo State as we speak. So, if you don't want that to recur, and don't forget that it's not only in a primary or secondary, we also had a case at tertiary level in Unilorin. If you don't want, the prediction is that except we change, we are going to record more trouble going forward. But then the prescription is this: everybody should wake up. I expected, I think I did a write-up like that earlier in the year, that I expected everybody in the education space to have woken up immediately COVID started. Mental health has been depleted. People are throwing tantrum, job losses, bereavement. People are not really in the best frame of mind. So what we can do is to pay more attention. That's my prescription now, to the issue of mental health, to the issue of personality profiling, to the issue of training and retraining people on mindfulness, on the issue of emotional intelligence, on the issue of attitudinal change, and a sort of character remodeling, so that it will even be part of the school that these are the do's, these are the don'ts. Once you bully, this is the repercussion. When you molest your fellow student, this is the repercussion. It will be written bold and pasted all over the school, so that anybody who sees that will think twice before going the wrong direction. But if we choose to be playing the ostrich, or somebody feels it has not landed on my door, I think all is well. All may not really be well. The new year is coming. It's supposed to give us new things, great things, better things. It's supposed to back progress. But sincerely, that is in an ideal setting. We are talking about the real world situation. There will still be skirmishes. There will still be untoward news. There will still be somebody dropping the ball. There will still be issue that we don't wish it happens, but this is life. It will happen. However, how prepared we are as individual, as organization, as a sector, will determine how much we can mitigate the risk. And it will also show, in case of crisis or trouble or difficulties, how well we can manage the crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and welcome, Darren, to the show. We are speaking on a New Spheres Eve. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
You are welcome.
Had an interesting conversation so far this morning. So I think the network also needs a new sphere, or we need a new network transition, because it's been difficult trying to just pass a single message across since we started the show. So at this point, I would like to hand over to Fee to take over, so that I think Fee's network is a bit more better. Fee, over to you, please. Thank you.
Okay, I actually hope that my network is better. I haven't been hearing everybody very clearly. But welcome to the show this morning, Jerry. And we are having a discussion on the news on New Year's Eve, looking at streamlining it to the education sector. What would your predictions and your prescriptions be for the new sphere in education?
Good morning, Ife. How are you doing? It's really good to have you back. So,
Thank you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Please go on. Yes, I
Okay.
can.
Go
Please
on. Go on. Yes, I can hear you.
So, my prescription would be, I think sometimes it's not for lack of maybe even rules. is for lack of consistency. Because I was listening to what Mr. Odushola was saying, and for instance, I believe since the old CNN sexual molestation thing happened in Unilag around like a year or two ago, there has been more, will I say, like the way the conversation was heated as at that time made sure that awareness, a lot of awareness like started on that issue, a lot of awareness. And I would know, as I was still talking about this like last week or 2 weeks ago, I said, one of the things I noticed was the fact that now people understood that there were channels for them to like complain that if you have cases of like, let me say, sexual molestation. In fact, it's like, let me say, a big billboard just right at the entrance of the University of Labour. If you are being sexually molested, call this number. Your something is protected. Basically saying that if you don't have to be afraid, like these are protected numbers. You don't like, you are protected if you report and all these things. So there's that big signage already there to show you when you enter the university. And I know that every faculty also has it in banners. Are you being sexually molested? Call these numbers. So the fact that it is right there, I say it does two things. It makes you, as in you, the students, aware that there is a channel for you to pass on information or for you to complain if there is a need to complain. And it also brings to the awareness of whoever it is that is in the higher position, who is supposed to be a lecturer now, to know that, look, even if I still want to do this thing, I know that my risks are higher. Do you understand? So I think for us to actually start changing we should first make the people who may be victims aware that they have the power and the channel to lay their complaints. And that channel must be so effective enough that if I lay a complaint, I'm sure that I'm protected and I am sure that I will be heard. And in fact, there should even be a channel that just in case the channel one doesn't work, like, that kind of, if you lay your complaint and the action does not happen within 24 hours, this is the next level you should escalate to. There should be like maybe an email to say channel one does not work, write this. And I've seen that work properly because I know there was an issue I had like my family had at the time that we complained about fraud on my mom's account. The good news is, because my husband is in the legal field, right? And he's in the banking sector. He knows that if you lay a complaint like that about a bank and they don't act within 48 hours, like you have a right to go to like another this thing. And we did that. And I remember that just because we knew we could escalate and we did escalate, the bank had to hear us. Unlike when we were first dealing with just the bank through their regular channel and they were telling us, go here, go here, go here. The moment we escalated to CBN, I'm not even sure the bank sorted whoever it is that defrauded it. They returned the money because they were bound to pay like 50 million if they did not sort us out within like 7 days. So I think it is about channels and awareness. If I didn't have a husband that was in that bank that knew that we could do that, I'm sure they've done it with thousands of customers to say, and those ones will go because they don't know that they can escalate to another level. I think if you have that double level, double layer kind of complaint channels and awareness on the part of the receiver to know that they can do that, I think we would at least curb this thing, like let me say to 70%, whether it is bullying or whether it is sexual molestation, abuse in our educational sector.
Thank you very much, Demi. One of the things that we had mentioned earlier was the preparation of the individual for the news fair. Now, I would like for us to discuss what should be the preparation of school management, of leadership team for the news fair, so that as individuals, as teachers are getting themselves ready for the news fair, they can meet with an organization that is also ready to for that news fair. So I'll start with Mr. Odushola and then we go to Darren. What should be the preparation of the management of an organization for the news fair?
Thank you very much. And I think Darian has put it so succinctly. I think awareness matters a lot. There is need to have, whether you call it town hall meeting, staff with the management, that it is no longer business as usual. In fact, I will having the knowledge will help prepare individual. In fact, you may bring them case study scenario. They read or they watch in a movie. Apart from the villain who is supposed to be prosecuted, then also the victim, the way the victim ought to be helped, we, the school, if anything happens within our domain, will fall under the category of a villain or that of a victim. But then, when we prepare, there is the third option, that is standing out as a victor. Preparedness make us to be that victor. Either victim or villain is still a minus to an individual, to the brand. So that is why we need to put them in a place, because at times some are very sincere, but they are sincerely wrong just because they don't know their right from their left. That we've been doing this before, but do you know we cannot continue to do things like this? If we continue, this may likely result, and this will be the effect. And some of them may not even know that they are dropping the ball of some sort because of the way they go about their normal way or normal way of doing things. So there should be that sensitization. Everybody should be awake and alert, be ready, so that I will not just be pushing the responsibility to is the school administrator supposed to do that. Once I see anything, my consciousness is awoken and say, oh, if we don't tackle this thing, I remember the case study we had or the movie or the video we watched. So if I'm waiting for the school owner or the administrator to come and attend to this, things might have gone out of hand before they come. Now I'm here. That tells you that we are able to watch one another's back. We are able to take up multiple roles without necessarily being assigned to those roles. So for me, I think knowledge is the preparation individual needs. And the school authority also is incumbent on them to put their staff in the place of knowledge. When they know better, they will better. Of course, after watching the video or reading the case study, we also let them realize the likely effect of not doing what we are supposed to do. In fact, we'll stretch it to almost the utmost end and have an hypothetical case of the likely result of what can happen. So when we do that, everybody will be conscious. What to do, what not to do, how to go about what you are doing in order to achieve results. I think for me, I will anchor on knowledge, which brings awareness, which also affects our performance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Over to you, Darian.
So for me, after, if we've taken care of awareness on behalf of the receiver, as in the people that are higher or that are lower in terms of whether senior or junior or lecturer, students and all, if we've taken care of awareness, I think the next step will be to actually now create the channels, as in create, we've made them aware they can do this, create the channels and create processes to check the channels. For instance, if we say we want to create like a way for students to complain, right? As in a direct line for students to complain. Now we should now say we have, let me say, maybe you register a line. Let's say in the case of a secondary school now, you register like, let me say, in fact, in the second of secondary school, maybe they don't use phones, right? Have what's it called? All this complaint box that it is only probably the most senior person that has the key to it. And there should be like maybe an alarm clock for that person who is in charge of that complaint board to say, check it, because I've seen that in organizations where they will have complaint board, they say, drop your this thing, but they never open it. They never ever open it. There should be a thing for them to say they are opening that box, like maybe it is daily in case of secondary school, or it is there should be like that thing That, and in fact, when there is for that thing, the person should now have, let me say, the school director, for instance, if the principal is in charge of opening that box, the school director should have, like, let me say, an email that says, as in that says, every day at the close of work, you should send me an email to tell me you opened that box. Right? There should be checks and balances for everybody. Like, you opened that box. So it's not just that they will now tax you with saying you opened that box. Because I use this a lot in my organization. I will say, I will not, even me as your boss, that will say, oh, do this work. I've now put it on my schedule to say, check that Aisha, check that this person did their work. It is on my own schedule. So immediately I see it on my schedule, I go and check whatever work they are. Not as in most of the time I remember, but I always say, like, there is a reason why you create SOPs. It is so that you can repeatedly do or achieve excellence or do the same thing all the time. So you shouldn't just leave it to chance that, oh, we've created the process. The process doesn't work itself. There should be checks and balances to make sure that the process is continually working. Now, after we now create those SOPs to say, oh, we set alarm clock or this thing, in the case of the university, we should say, in fact, we should now, in the case where we see that people are not, like, let me say, there are no complaints. I always say, no complaint doesn't mean that it is not existing. It may be that your process is broken, right? It may be your process is broken. There should now be another check and balance to say, maybe, oh, every month, we will call these lower people, whether it is juniors or we will call the students to say, please, we created a process and we are trying to see if this thing is faulty. Please, there is another way for you to do this thing just in case. Now, is that you are complaining about what is wrong with you, or you are complaining about your process? So if you are going to complain about our processes and the gaps you've seen, this is a way for you to complain about our processes. And that one should not, and any channel that is created to complain about the process itself should not in any way be dependent on the initial one. So if we say, oh, we created a complaint box for the complaint, we should not say, there should be another channel that you can say, oh, maybe if our process is broken, slip a note under the principal's door, or slip something to complain about the broken process. It should be independent. It should not be through the same channel. That's where you are sure, and you are double sure that not only is your process working, but at least it is continually working. A lot should be invested in creating structures and processes around complaints and all that. If you can do that, then we are able to, like, let me say, have a headway on how we can change for real, like how we can maintain change for real.
Thank you very much. Oh, wow. And Demi it's like dropped the mic and exited the building. But I'm sure our connection needs
this morning.
It needs a
we need to move to maybe 5G or 5G or 6G.
Okay, and so as we round off this morning, I will just ask that, what are the things that should characterize a news fair? What are those things that schools should look at, maybe as the baseline, that these are the things that would be the markers of our news fair? It doesn't matter what type of institution it is, but with all that we have said, with all that we have prescribed, that they should work on mental health, physical security, processes, and all of that, what should be the basic markers of the news fair organizations? Okay, we'll still go through the same rotation. So, sorry, Mr.
Yes. Thank you. I think excellence should be our watchword going forward. Of course, we are in a new, the eve. So no matter what we've achieved this year, I believe there is opportunity to be more, to do more and achieve more. So excellence should characterize our way of life and the way we do things. Individually, we should take inventory. What have I done right? How can I improve on it? What have I done wrong? Let me right my wrongs. So when we are having that state of mind, it drives us. We will know that, humanly speaking, I've given my best. Of course, at times my best may not be enough. So beyond giving my best is to do what is expected. Yes, because at times you say you're doing your best, but your best is below the expectation. So we need to match the two, not just from my own side alone. I should also look at the side of my employer as far as what they expect me to do is concerned. And I think excellence when it comes to service delivery, we should be proactive. We should improve as individual. And like Dr. Deering has said, um, processes, structures should be put in place. You know, it appears in this part of the world, maybe at times due to the smallness of the organization, everything rises and falls on one person who calls the shot, who is the alpha and the omega. If it's not there, nothing works. And at times, the person meant well, only that one person cannot see it all. So once we have the processes, the structure in place, there will naturally be check and balances. And my advice to educators in the new year is to break new grounds, do things that are new, progressive, to advance your life, advance your career, advance your organization. It cannot be business as usual. Of course, the handwriting on the wall is clear enough that it's not going to be business as usual. I tell you, we may have more schools going under. The regulators, I think they are waking up now because the noise being chanted up and down is making regulators to wake up and do their thing. And I hope this wake up call will not be to put money in the pocket and still not do what they need to do. Because when people circumvent processes, the aftermath effect is usually very destructive. It may not be immediate. And at times, you may not be able to trace or track the so-called corporate who aided other people in circumventing the process. They might have been moved to another unit. They might have left the organization. But when they were there, they didn't do the process. Quality control, quality assurance should be paid more attention to. And all this sentiment of the person is merciless. What is there? Are you not human beings? Don't you have family? Those are the sentiments we appeal to. They are telling you to put good toilet in place. Let there be sanitizer, wash hand basin, this and this. You say it's too much. And yes, somebody somewhere. The same money a school owner doesn't want to spend to provide facility, he will spend almost as much to bribe people. To me, I think that is foolishness. Because when that person is no longer there, another set of people will still come and inspect. For how long are you going to be in servitude, paying people just to have your way? Why don't you do the right thing? So the coming year should be a year to do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. And Dere, let's hear your thoughts.
Okay, so that will be my final thoughts. I think we need to first define the standard. Let's put it that way. We need to define the standard. What qualifies as something is good and something is bad? We need to define the standard. And in us defining the standard, I would even advise that we don't do this we don't do this aloof. Like we don't do this as you are creating standards or structures or whatever for in isolation of every stakeholder. And when I say every stakeholder, as far as I'm concerned, the students should be part of the people that will create the standards. The teachers should be part of the people that will create the standards. The owners of the school. Why? It puts into perspective everyone that is involved. You are able to see it from the lenses of all these stakeholders. I think that would be let's know what the standard is. So it is not as if these laws are too stringent or they are too lenient and all that. Let's create the standard so that we can. I believe whatever it is we have now can be better if every stakeholder is creating the standard going forward. so that we are very, very clear on this is what I always say, like, this is what laws looked like 2 years ago. Things have changed, times have changed. Let's create new laws, and then we can now start saying, oh, these laws, this will be the people that are upholding it, this will be the people that are aware of the laws. And of course, when we finally create the laws, I believe there should be maybe a subject in school or a manual, an SOP that maybe the government will create and say it is compulsory for every child that can read, should be given that manual to say this is what the Nigerian government says about school, or as in this particular. We should have a small manual, the way we have Queen Primer, distributed to every, whether it is the students. We should have those that size distribute, and in fact it should be yearly, because we know that people will misplace their own. Let's create it yearly and hand over to people. That would be my final thoughts.
Thank you very much. It's been a real robust discussion this morning, despite all of the glitches, all of the network glitches. We've still been able to draw out something, and it feels to me like our discussion this morning should even be put out in writing and circulated. It's not just something that we should sit on and keep within this medium and just say it needs to go out, because really the next sphere of education is critical, and we can't just go into it unprepared. We need to prepare towards it and get our processes right, get our systems right, for us to have a really robust education system come the next sphere. Thank you so much for being here, Diri, Sola, Adio, Adepoju, and Olushola Olumide. We had Rotimi Tayo with us earlier, but the network has just been very, very, very unfriendly and very hostile towards us this morning. But it's been a wonderful edition on the show this morning, and we'll just round off with our regular fashion, and wish you all a beautiful, splendid weekend ahead. So, team, let's go.
It's
always a
great
great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.